days of strength, will, and desire, building a future for me and you. Let's get inspired and shine the spotlight on the CUSW. Hello, and welcome to the CUSW Spotlight Podcast, brought to you by the Canadian Union of Skilled Workers, established in 1999. CUSW has been empowering its members and shaping the future of skilled trades for over 25 years. In this podcast, we shine a spotlight on the people, stories, and values that make CUSW a strong and dynamic community. It's an exciting time to be part of this union, and we're here to celebrate the journey, achievements, and dedication of skilled workers. So turn up the volume and let's get started. Here's your host for the CUSW Spotlight Podcast, Mr. Dan Plexman.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us for this episode of the CUSW Spotlight Podcast. On today's episode, you might not recognize the face, but I guarantee you're going to recognize the voice. Glen MacNeil is our guest today, and I'm so honored to have him on the show. For those of you who don't know Glen, Glen is a singer and a songwriter, and he is actually the narrator and the guy that wrote the song for the CUSW Spotlight Podcast. So without any further ado, let's introduce our guest, Glen MacNeil. Hey, Glen, how are you today?
Hi, Dan. I'm doing great, bud. Good to see you.
Great to have you on the show. Can you tell the viewers a little bit who Glen MacNeil is, how you fit in the CUSW family? There's so much more about Glen MacNeil that everybody needs to know.
Yeah. Well, I'm an East Coaster. I was actually born in Toronto. And like a lot of other Cape Bretoners, my parents moved to Toronto back in the day. And that's where I ended up being born. And then I think we were back in Cape Breton when I was maybe 2 years old. And so I grew up there. Went my whole life in the same school and moved away to Halifax after high school and took a refrigeration trade. And then I was walking around the streets of Halifax trying to find a job and couldn't find a job anywhere. I had no money, ran out of money, like literally broke. And so I went back home to Cape Breton and I got a job there for a bit. And then I was kind of voluntold to come to Ontario by my mother to get a job and find your way kind of thing. And so I did, and I ended up getting a job at a whiskey plant right out of the gate. I wasn't in Windsor probably more than, a week. So I was going around with a friend of the family. He was driving me all around the city. I was looking for a job anywhere. I didn't care what it was. I just needed to work because I was flat broke.
Yeah, a guy's got to eat, right?
Hey, I'll tell you, I had nothing, I had like $300 in my pocket, I think. Yeah, it's a true story. So we went to literally every place you could think of in Windsor that was maybe hiring or dropping off resumes. And, I was a kid back then and my resume wasn't very deep. So I was going to take anything. And so the very last place I went to was Hiram Walker and Sons in Windsor, who made Canadian Club whiskey. And at that time, Canadian Club was their big brand, their big global brand, right? So I walked into this building and put a resume on the table, and I probably looked pretty desperate at that time because I was just in dire straits. And I got back to my aunt's place where I was staying, and they called me. I think the lady felt sorry for me, to be honest with you. I think she's like, "They got to give this kid a job. He's just down and out." And I got a job there. And long story short, I stayed there for 30 years.
Wow.
I worked my whole adult life in that plant, and I did every job you could think of, from janitorial work, maintenance, no office jobs. I'm not an office job guy, really, but I definitely did every job you can think of in that plant.
Did you start your electrical apprenticeship at the distillery?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
I started off in trade school in Halifax, took a refrigeration and air conditioning trade. But like I said, I couldn't find a job in Halifax. In Windsor, we're doing that. But this plant was hiring, so I took the job on with the hope of maybe getting into trades there sometime. I didn't get into trades till I was in my mid to late 30s because they weren't hiring trades. They weren't hiring apprentices. They were just hiring journeymen. But then an industrial electrician apprenticeship opened up. And then I put my name in, I applied for it, and I got the apprenticeship. And for the rest of my time there, I was in the trades. It worked out great, but 30 years in a plant it can test your patience. Let's just say that. And, I knew it was time to move on. So my goal then was to get my 309A license. I wanted to get my construction and maintenance license. And so luckily, a guy in town hired me and took me on as a 50-year-old apprentice, which was interesting. But he took me on because I had my industrial ticket. And he's like, well, put in a year in construction maintenance, your 309 license, and away you go. So that's what I did.
It's not like you were like totally fresh though. You know what I mean? You're already an accomplished tradesman, so kind of doubling up the trades ticket. So that's a pretty good spot to be. That's for sure.
He took a bit of a chance on me because industrial is a bit different game than construction, obviously.
Yeah.
But electricity doesn't change. Electricity is the same no matter where you're at. So prior to that, I have a cousin who works in CUSW, and he works for Hydro One. And he said, maybe when you leave that place, maybe you can come work at Hydro One or wherever we're hiring. And I'm like, yeah, I might, see what happens. I wasn't thinking too much about it. But when I left there, I thought maybe that'd be a great avenue to go down with CUSW.
And geographically, it seems like a good position as well.
Well, geographically, I was willing to take that chance. At that time, kids were grown and gone kind of thing. And I thought, well, let's try this, And so I put my name in, and I didn't hear anything the first time. I think that was 2016. But then in 2017, I put my name in again. I uploaded all my stuff to the website, and the very next day, the phone rang. My wife and I are sitting around having coffee, and lo and behold, it's somebody from CUSW saying, hey, we got your application, and we'd like to take you on. I applied like yesterday.
Yeah.
But I was kind of like taken aback a bit, but I said, okay, awesome. Great. What do I do now? And so long story short, my first job was a doozy. I was doing solar panels on a roof in Tilbury. Back at that day in 17, you kind of had to do a not so great job to get the better job kind of deal, so doing a solar job was kind of like your segue into the apprenticeship program in a way.
Kind of like putting your time in.
Yeah, again. But you know what?
Yeah.
I'm glad I did that. And it was the hardest work I think I've ever done in my life. It was unbelievable. Like, we were just slugging these solar panels and all the equipment and all the gear every day. That went on for a few months, and that job ended. And then a job came up with Hydro One for the Southwest. So that was my area. So I thought I'm going to put my name in again as an apprentice because I still had to get my 309, and they were willing to take me on as a 309 apprentice. So I did that. And I got on with Hydro One, and I was there for 8 years. It was great. I'm very grateful to CUSW for taking me on in that capacity. Being older, putting me through all the apprenticeship stuff, and honestly, they were very accommodating, if you will. They let me go to school to get my one last course I needed. They let me write my ticket and all that kind of stuff and get back to work. So everybody was great. The union was great. The company was great. And everybody around me was very supportive.
Right.
So now I have my 309A, my industrial electrician ticket, and I got my master license as well. And they helped with all of that. They helped me get my master license through the education trust fund there. So in a nutshell, it's kind of my story. And here we are today. If you go back to 2017, I had been involved in union activities my whole life.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I was just going to cut you off and clarify because I was assuming that maybe that distillery you're working was non-union and you worked there for 30 years. Then all of a sudden you're switching over to the CUSW union. Is that how it worked, or was the distillery unionized?
It was unionized. Actually, it was.
Oh, okay.
It was CAW.
Oh,
and
okay.
then it transitioned into Unifor. And so we were local 2027, and we were unionized. And so early days, I was a steward. I was involved, very involved. I'm a kind of an involved person. I get involved in things, which is, it's okay. Some people don't, but I tend to get into the inner workings of where I'm at. And so I took on a steward role as a health and safety rep there as well. It seemed like an easy transition for me to at least dip my toe into the health and safety world of CUSW. And so I think an opportunity in 2018 came up, and I hadn't been at CUSW very long. And I showed my interest, and they're like, who's this guy, right? So people vouched for me. They got to know me, and they said, I think you'd be a good guy as a steward. And sure enough, I got the role, and I took it on. And that went on for, I think, a couple of years or more. And then I took on the health and safety rep role right up until I was laid off at the end of May last year there. I enjoyed both roles. They're very challenging, a lot of travel, but you get to know the workforce, you get to know the workplace and the inner workings of it all. So I would definitely encourage anyone that's even thinking about it to put your name in, put your hand up, whether it's for steward role or health and safety or committee. I was on a couple of committees as well.
So we're always looking for people to stand up, put their hand up and say, hey, I want to try this.
Yeah,
I'll do this. Even if you don't even know what you can do, just put your hand up. We'll find something for you. We always do.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And I think people would be surprised too that there are many opportunities. There's so many committees. The union is growing so big all the time. There's a lot of moving parts. And I think everyone needs help. And you can just try it out even. If you don't like it, that's okay.
Yep, it's true. Like if you think about it, CUSW on the broad range, we probably represent nearly 8,000 people.
That's a pretty incredible number, yeah.
Yeah, and you think about how many people are at the office, how many people are at those committee meetings and on these committees, the units, making all this happen. There's really not a lot of us if you compare the actual numbers that we're representing. So, like we said, if you are interested, just put your hand up. We're looking for you. We want you.
Absolutely. I'd highly encourage it for anybody.
Yeah. And honestly, that's how you and I actually met. You and I met, I think it might have been 2018, maybe.
Sounds about right.
2020. Yeah. And I was doing a presentation at one of our health, safety, and wellness conferences. You were there. You stood up. You asked me a bunch of questions. We had a good conversation. And for how many years now, these conversations just haven't stopped. And it's just because of your willingness to raise your hand and say, hey, Dan, I have a question for you. Can you explain this to me? Involving my accident, of course, that's what I talk about. But, your interest is like a shining light within our union. So thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Your story that day, I remember it very well, was very inspiring. And it may have even sparked like a renewed interest in me to get into health and safety again, because I was working literally in the same environment you were working in when you had your accident. And so you can never be too aware of your surroundings, especially in the environment that we worked in.
Yeah.
You literally know the dangers and what the outcomes may be if procedures aren't followed properly. I think in some way you may have inspired me to carry on in my health and safety role. And it was definitely inspiring to listen to you. And yeah, we've had a great relationship ever since.
Yeah, we have. It's pretty cool how just two strangers that meet in some conference room in Toronto, and we live like 2,000 kilometers apart on our best days. Some days we're like 4,000 kilometers apart, depending on where you are in the country, kind of thing. But we still make the time to give each other a call. Hey, man, how's it going? And it's just nice that we have this relationship. And we talk about the CUSW family, but we really are a family, and that's just how it works.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel very grateful to be welcomed into the CUSW family. They didn't have to take me in. Some would argue I'd done my time, but I wasn't finished yet, and I had another chapter left to pursue. And they gave me that chance. And I really appreciate CUSW giving me the opportunity to pursue my own personal goal of getting my 309A license. And then I guess that wasn't enough, so I went on and got my master license. Even had my own little company for a little while. And, there's goals in your life that you pursue, and those were a few that I went after and got them, largely in part of CUSW's support for sure. 100%.
Nice. I'm just curious, If I calculate right, you've been with CUSW for like 10 years, really.
Pretty close. I think in January of 17 was when I put my application in.
Okay. Within those, let's say 10 years that you've been with CUSW, is there any particular moment where you had like the aha moment where you realized, oh, I'm where I should be?
It's not in the 309A role that I felt that. It was in the health and safety role.
Yep.
As being, part of the JHSC, part of the Southwest Committee, I was the co-chair, and you get to meet with people and talk about safety. But helping individual people, we put the phone numbers up on the boards, we put the phone numbers in emails, we put the phone number on the website for places that people can call for help. And as a
Yep.
rep, your number is part of those phone numbers. And you might get a call one day and someone's in trouble. Someone needs help.
Right.
And they're like,
you're the direct link.
You're the guy I needed to call. Someone told me to call you. And I think that's where I went, oh, this is why I'm doing this.
That's a huge responsibility.
It's huge, man. It's huge, but it has to be done. Someone has to take on that role.
Yep.
And, being an older guy, having some life experience, it helps a lot because I've seen people go through a lot of stuff, either family members, co-workers, you name it.
Yep.
So I've got some experience with people going through things. And I think I was at that time, at a place where I can help these people. I want to say I was able to help a few people to get better or find their way or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it's a lot of responsibility because on every other average day, you're a worker guy, right?
Yep.
You take off your worker hat and you put on your health and safety hat and you try and decipher those two roles. But again, CUSW's training is great. I mean, they're having more training now than ever. The reps meet, I think it's monthly at least. The committees meet monthly or maybe more, I don't know. But all this training, I believe, helps people that get involved in rep roles. And I would say that's where I had an aha moment, is where my phone rang. And on the other end was someone needing help. One of my co-workers. And we got through it. We called the right people because we knew who to call. We knew the protocol to get the help. And that comes through people like yourself with your health and safety conference. That's a big one. I had a few aha moments at that conference. Trust me.
Right. Yeah. Like talking about you being the phone number for someone to call in a serious situation kind of thing. Just for CUSW to have these avenues of support open to all the different members. Like myself, I'm not on the tools anymore. I don't really have a union steward or a health, safety, and wellness person at the job site because I'm not on the job site. But in my own personal life, in the last few weeks, like month, I guess I'd say, I have been having some personal problems. I've been having emotional problems, a little bit of psychological problems. I've been depressed. It happens to the best of us. And I got to admit, last week I called Homewood Health. I called their hotline number and it really helped a lot. It really did. And to be honest, I'm going to be calling again tomorrow just because I need that connection. And sometimes the holidays, the best times for everybody are the worst times for everybody else. And I was experiencing a little bit of that. And without having CUSW, having these avenues for support, without having them set up, I wouldn't be where I am today, that's for sure. Thank you for being part of these support programs and these networks that we've all built together, Glenn. Thank you.
Oh, it's an honor to be a part of it. And I'm glad that you were able to call someone, to talk to someone. I think mental health, I go through stuff too. We all go through stuff. Life's not easy.
No, you can't get through it unscathed. It's just how it works.
And here we are, a couple of guys talking.
Yeah.
You go back 30 years, guys wouldn't talk like this.
No, not at all.
Guys would not say, hey, man, I just called somebody for some mental health issues. No one talked like that, right?
I wasn't even allowed to talk to my dad like that. That's just how it was.
Like, shut up, sit down, go do your work, and that's it. So
Yeah.
I'm a big advocate, huge for mental health. Absolutely, 100%. If you got something going on, give me a call.
Yep.
I'll give you a number to call. It's so important to talk to people, just to talk. You know, where
Exactly.
everyone's got their heads in their phones and in their tablets and in their stuff. And the real world, just sitting down beside someone, having a coffee, just chatting. To me, that's more important than anything. I mean, you can get all the information you want on a phone or a tablet, but just having a conversation over a coffee can change someone's life. Really.
Exactly. Isn't it like totally ridiculous how, like for myself anyway, my own personal experience with the phone and texting. Sometimes I text somebody to say hello because I don't want to interrupt their day. Meanwhile, I could just call them and say, hey, let's have a 2-minute conversation and not waste the 10 minutes of waiting for the text.
Absolutely. It's a habit, I think. It's like a bad habit.
Yeah. But it's sad that we're replacing the human experience of actually hearing someone's voice and choosing to type in and then waste more time, and we're losing that human connection. So I kind of look at it like every time I have a chance to make a real human connection, that's what I'm doing. I'd rather just pick up the phone.
Even though you're speaking maybe through a screen at this time, or however we do FaceTime, at least we get to look at each other and make a connection that way too. I think that's important. We're not together, but we're kind of together.
Exactly.
It's better than a text, right? So
yeah. Especially way better than it was when we only had landlines and you had to be at one specific spot waiting for that phone to ring.
Right.
Things have changed big time. And if we don't take advantage of these technological advancements, we're doing ourselves a disservice. But there's also the other end of the spectrum where we need to have this personal connection and the human connection and then not let technology take it over.
Absolutely. I'm with you 100% on that one.
Yeah. We've been having a pretty good conversation about CUSW, our personal relationship, and everything going on. With your role with CUSW, you've kind of done the full gamut within actually a short amount of time. And I've heard a few rumors that you're coming up to retirement, or there's some news in the air that Glen might be talking about retiring or something like that. Is there any truth to that? What do you see coming up in the near future with your CUSW involvement? And what do you want to share with us? We'd like to know what's going on with Glen MacNeil.
Yeah, I'm not too sure if retirement is even a word that I can digest. Because when I think retirement, I just think sitting in a rocking chair and waiting for everything to end. But I look at life in chapters in a way. It's just like a book. You just goes this chapter, that chapter, the next chapter. So the next chapter for me is kind of wide open right now. I'm exploring lots of opportunities and different ideas. I've explored more getting into the health and safety world, maybe even pursuing a health and safety role. And there's stuff that goes on up at Bruce Power that sometimes they need people to do work up there, electricians. I might explore that avenue. I've been exploring my music a lot more, being a lifetime musician. I was playing a ton of gigs last summer, and that was great. Writing songs and recording songs. And I think I put out 13 releases last year just on Spotify and all those kind of stuff.
It's like one a month. It's crazy.
Yeah, I got a lot of stuff sitting in the archives. So I've been kind of digging up the archives of my old recordings, and I just put out a thing. I call it the basement tapes. I put it out just before the end of the year there, and it's just me and my guitar singing songs. So yeah, my music is really a big part of my life. It always has been. I've been playing guitar since I was a little kid, right? I've been playing in bars since I was 15. It's just part of my DNA.
Right.
I'll definitely pursue my music more as long as I can. And I'm still a dues paying member of CUSW, so I don't plan on going anywhere soon. And I'm available if anyone needs any help, committee wise or whatever. I'm still a full-fledged member of CUSW. And am I going to retire? Maybe one day. Not right now, though. I'm not ready. I'm on to the next chapter. Like I said, I look at life as in chapters, and this is the next one.
Yeah, that's exactly how I see my own role with CUSW and my role in life in general. I'm turning 53, and to be honest, I could really see myself putting in another 20 years with CUSW, doing what I'm doing. I don't see the need to retire. I don't really see the need to step back until I can't physically do the job anymore, or still feel like I'm contributing. So why not keep contributing if you can?
No, I agree. I think it's important that we stay in motion. We keep moving. We keep being interested, keep being educated. I wasn't the greatest high school student, but ever since then, when I left high school, I've been constantly educating myself through courses and different electrical tickets and tons of training. I love to learn stuff. I love to keep my brain going as long as I can keep it going. And I think once you stop moving, that's when trouble creeps in. And, I'm not an arm wrestler like you are, Dan, but I used to be a hockey player. I love motion. I love movement. And I plan on just keeping on going until I can't go anymore. And that's kind of the same in the way you're talking. Just keep on keeping on, right?
Yeah, like the camaraderie that I've built with guys like you and so many other strangers. Honestly, like some of my best friends that I consider now best friends in my life now were complete strangers 10 years ago, and they were directly involved with CUSW, and it really is a development happening here, and I don't want to leave it.
That's great.
Yeah. So it's cool, man. It's really cool. We would love to have you maybe break out your guitar a little bit and play a little bit. Yeah. Is it close by?
All of that intro and outro was all AI. It wasn't even me.
Yeah.
No, that was actually real. But I happen to have a guitar right here.
That's awesome. Yeah, like I was saying for the viewers at home, Glen is the guy that wrote, created, and he sings the songs for the CUSW Spotlight Podcast. He's also created some other songs for the CUSW Union itself. He's created songs for my own speaking business and my superhero character, the Plex Man. It's just really cool to have you on our team to spotlight your talents. So without any further ado, could you play us a little tune, maybe something that you wrote for CUSW?
Yeah, man. Like I really appreciate you guys contacting me to have me be involved in this podcast. I think the podcast is awesome. It's great. You're doing a great job. And we wrote this song together, by the way. It wasn't just me. It was me and you and Nazia and back and forth and getting the words right or where we thought they were right. And
oh yeah, it was a real collaborative effort between the three of us. It really was.
Oh, absolutely. The best writes to me are the co-writes. Yeah. Some people would argue that, but I think co-writing is very productive. So I'll just sing the intro part that we came up with together, right? So
sure.
Stories of strength, will, and desire, building a future for me and you. Let's get inspired and shine a spotlight. CUSW. There you have it.
That's perfect, man. We could just tie a bow on this show. That was a perfect ending.
Thanks.
Seriously, Glen.
A lot of fun, man. And I appreciate you guys working back and forth with me. And I'd be remiss to not mention my brother, Brad, for producing the whole thing. I mean, okay, I can sing and play guitar, but I can't produce anything. He was our producer guy, and I appreciate having him in the background doing his thing, So shout out to my bro, Brad, for producing the track. Yeah.
I'm really glad you mentioned him because I forgot to mention him and I wanted to, but you also spurred something in my mind where you're talking about Brad and being the producer. It's kind of like you and I have the same relationship where I have the same relationship with Nasia, where I'm just the talking head on this show and I have the easiest part, even though I get the most credit because I'm the face. But it's the editing. It's the person behind the camera, Nasia, who's doing all this stuff, just like Brad is for you being your producer. So it's all the stuff that we don't see that goes behind the work that we just don't appreciate.
Absolutely. Like Brad and Nasia are the same people. They take care of us people out in the forefront here. I'm always the guy on stage playing the songs and recording, and well, my brother Brad is the guy behind the scenes producing all these tracks. And I know that Nasia is the exact same way. She's probably going to put about, who knows, a couple of days of editing into every podcast that she does, and to give us this nice podcast to listen to and to watch. So you can't say enough about the people behind the scenes who take care of us, for sure.
And it's just like the committee members and anybody else at the union office that's running this big show, that's putting a paycheck in everybody's envelopes every week. We're pretty lucky.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Well, Glen, I'm really glad we had this conversation. I'm so glad we brought you on the show, especially one of the episodes at the beginning of the year. It's just a perfect way to start January kind of thing. Anyway, for everybody who's at home who would like to give us some thoughts on the show, some suggestions, maybe you want to be a guest on the show, please refer to the description at the end of the show. You can find Glen's contact information there. You can find my contact information, and we'd love to hear from you. And on behalf of the CUSW Spotlight Podcast and everybody watching and the whole CUSW movement, we truly thank you for being a guest on the show today, Glen. And your effort, your contribution to the union, we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. It's my pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Take care, Glen. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care, Dan.
Bye.
Thank you for shining bright in the CUSW Spotlight. Let's get inspired and shine a spotlight on the CUSW